Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Watson Michael from Ceylon Institute of English and Leadership. And today we have with us a great leader. His name is Mr. Gary DePaul. Over 2 decades of experience in leadership. So he's the Executive Leadership Development Consultant at Gary DePaul Leadership, Distinguished Principal Research Fellow at the Conference Board. Also, he's the Adjunct Professor, Department of Educational Leadership at University of North Carolina at Charlotte. So Gary, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm excited about being here.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So Gary, could you let us know what is leadership and why is it important?
Yeah, so let me talk a little bit about why it's important, sort of like tease in the leadership meaning. And if you have an organization, if your organization, the people in it are practicing leadership consistently, you are going to have higher business results. You're going to have performance barriers being taken away. You're going to have people that are going to feel safe at work. You're going to have more collaboration, creativity, and innovation. Your engagement goes up.
Yep.
Your operational costs go down and your profitability goes up. Your absenteeism and turnover of your employees, that also goes down. These are really important reasons why leadership is important and how it can give your company a competitive advantage. So the question about what is leadership?
Yeah.
This is one of the books I wrote is What the Heck is Leadership and Why Should I Care?
Okay.
I just told you about the importance of it and why you should care. So here's the thing about leadership. Back in the old days, Industrial Revolution, the meaning of leadership and management kind of were the same thing.
Okay.
But it's changed now in the 21st century, roughly around the turn of the century.
Yeah.
And the definition of management was, here's Mary Parker Follett's definition, the art of getting things done through other people. So very simple, but that used to be the definition of traditional leadership. Now, the meaning of leadership in the 21st century, it's about helping other people develop mentally and morally.
Yes.
And David Marquet wrote about it being like this. Leadership's not about you, but about other people. It's about creating a work environment in which people can be at their best.
Yeah.
Ron Carr, who wrote the Velocity Mindset, his definition, I love his definition. It's real leadership is about making other people succeed beyond their wildest dreams. So if you're in management, and you just do management stuff, the techniques, the performance reviews, the assignment of work and stuff like that's great. But when you practice leadership, what you're doing is you're helping people achieve value-driven performance.
Yes.
So if it's one thing if you just do a job and just you do all the things that managers do, but when you do it from the perspective of leadership, that changes everything. And how you do it is more meaningful and more purposeful, and performance just starts to skyrocket when you have enough people doing it.
Absolutely. So what would you consider like the most important values in leadership?
There's the research I did on leadership books. I came up with 7 principles, and these are sort of guiding principles, things that help you stay on the path of leading others. they're simple,
Yeah.
but they're easily misunderstood.
Yes.
So I'm gonna just tell you a few of them, and
Sure.
most people that are watching this, they're gonna
Yeah.
be like, yeah, that makes sense, but they're
Mm-hmm.
hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
You ready?
Yeah.
So here's one: believe in others.
Mm.
Very simple, easy to understand, but in practice, there's a tendency to not do that. Uh, I worked with a vice president. He says,
Okay.
when I hire people, I'd say, okay, you have to show your worth.
Mm.
You have to prove yourself. And the instant that you don't, and you fail in the work that you're doing, I won't believe in you. And that's just the wrong way of doing it. You
Mm-hmm.
you hire people because you believe in them, and you have to go in with the mindset that these people are are going to do a fantastic job, and
Mm-hmm.
it almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
So, believe in others, connect with others, put others first, give up control, encourage growth,
Yeah.
collaborate with others, and develop leadership practices continuously. Those are the guiding principles that are worth studying, worth learning about, and continuously practicing. And if you're good at it, get feedback from other people on how well you're doing with those principles.
Absolutely. I mean, it's you should because people don't sometimes understand it. They like think, okay, it's controlling. So that's a very good point, Gary, which you said. So, what are your views about trust and compromising?
Yeah, trust is a big thing. Both those terms are, if you're going to have effective, high performing teams,
Yeah.
you have to develop trust.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure, Watson, this is a term that you've run across, and you probably have talked to a lot of people about, and that's
Many,
psychological safety.
many a times, many a times.
If if you if you have team members
Mm-hmm.
and they believe that they can safely take interpersonal risks
Yeah.
without the fear of scorn or animosity, then you have psychological safety.
Mm.
And I mean, this has been a 21st century term. It's been around a while, but it's been
Yeah.
popularized in
Mm-hmm.
the last decade.
Yeah.
So the big thing about trust and psychological safety, the manager needs to go first.
Mm.
You need to you need to develop that safe environment,
Yeah.
because you're the person with authority,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now,
And
the other term you mentioned, compromising,
yeah.
it's really interesting. When you think of compromising, you think of getting some of what you want, but
Yes.
some of it you don't get, right?
Yes.
Yeah, another let's flip it around and let's give it a
Sure.
different perspective, okay?
Sure.
Instead of you're giving up something,
Mm-hmm.
think of it like, if you have a team and you're working together
Yeah.
and you're trying to come up with some decisions.
Mm.
Instead of I'm going to say what I think is best,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm gonna have to give up something. Instead of thinking like that, think of, I'm going to contribute to something that us as a group will
Okay.
come together and understand, and you actually build something unique
Yes.
that's better than an individual.
Yes.
I tell you, let me ask you something.
Sure.
What's a popular automobile that you think a lot of people would be familiar with?
Toyota.
Just say it.
Toyota.
Toyota. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's take a Toyota Camry. That's one of their models.
Okay.
And if you ask someone, how much does a brand new Toyota Camry cost?
Mm-hmm.
You'll get a number, and
Yes.
it may be high, may be low.
Yes.
But if you ask 50 people,
Mm-hmm.
you'll get a distribution, and the average of that distribution will be remarkably close to the actual retail price of a Toyota Camry.
Mm.
So the idea is that one person may have a unique perspective of what the value is for a Toyota Camry.
Mm-hmm.
Another person may not have that same perspective, but collectively, when it's all put together,
Yeah.
you come up with something very accurate. So when you take employees
Yeah.
that are frontline employees,
Mm-hmm.
and you're having them work with you as the
Yes.
manager,
Mm-hmm.
the things that you could come up with will be extraordinary,
Yeah.
rather than the manager just saying, this is what we're going to do,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I mean, like, both sides should balance. So especially the manager also should understand his employees, and the, the employees also
Yeah.
should understand about the manager as well. So I mean, like, both sides, I feel.
Yeah,
That's
someone in management will have a unique perspective. They may have people in management may have information that the regular employees don't have. Vice versa, the employees, if they're frontline and they work with customers, they're going to
mm-hmm.
have experience and knowledge that the manager won't have.
Absolutely.
When you bring those together, you could come up with some amazing things.
Definitely. Definitely. So Gary, you had authored 4 books, and could you let us know what they are mainly focused on?
Yeah. The two of them are on leadership, specifically on it. 9 Practices of 21st Century Leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And the other leadership book is, or I mentioned it earlier, What the Heck is Leadership and Why Should I Care?
Yeah.
The What the Heck book is a 2-hour read. It's
Mm-hmm.
very simple.
Wow. Okay, 2 hours. Superb. Okay.
2 hours, and it's about 110, 120 pages, but it's all stories.
Mm.
It's teaching those principles, those values that
Wow.
we talked about earlier, but it's done all through stories.
Wow.
And it's very good for people just getting into what leadership is. The 9 Practices is a more it's looks a lot more academic. It's
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many pages, 300 and some odd pages, but
Okay.
the concept is, instead of just talking about the values of leadership and why leadership is good, it really goes through, how do you practice leadership and what does that really mean?
Mm.
So those are the first two. And
Okay.
Watson, the
Yeah.
next book, I will tell you, it is the worst title for a book that you could
Okay.
want.
All right.
And I'll tell you the title,
Yeah.
and then I'll explain why. It's called The Most Effective and Responsible Clinical Training Techniques in Medicine.
Wow. So that's a very long title. Okay.
And no one will remember it.
Even I couldn't remember it, bro. I mean, like, okay.
It's too long. It's crazy long. And I wrote it in 2017, the second edition of it, and gave it that title. And now I'm looking back and it's like, what was I thinking?
All
But
right.
the book, it's another short book. It's got an incredible preface for the second edition that anyone in the medical field should read. And it's all about high risk, um, high risk training,
Okay.
or training in high risk professions, like in the medical field, where you can have serious negative consequences
Mm.
to patients,
Yeah.
loss of life, loss of a limb. So
Yeah.
how do you train someone effectively. And in the medical profession, there's a lot of bad techniques. And
Yeah.
what I do is I teach people the most effective and responsible way of training people in high risk environments, such as working at a nuclear reactor
Mm,
or in the medical field, any in search and rescue,
yeah.
the military. So it's like, what are the most effective ways of doing that and doing it responsibly? That's what that
Yes.
book is about.
Yes. Wow. And the fourth one?
Yeah, the fourth one is called the 2022 HRBP report.
Okay.
And HRBP is Human Resource Business Partner. It's a particular role in human resources.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did is I interviewed a handful of HR business partners
Okay.
to find out, what does it mean to be successful in your field, and what do you need to do to be successful. And this report is a summary of what they came up with, and I
Mm.
came up with 7 success factors for HR business partners.
Wow.
The nice thing about the report, you go to my website, you can download it for free.
Superb. Wow.
You
So,
can download an interactive version, you can download a printable version, format, I should say. There
okay.
is a black and white format for people with visual disabilities, so
Mm-hmm.
there's no infographics, no pictures or anything like that. And if you want a glossy color version of it, you can go to Amazon and buy a copy of the print version.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this really nice laid out version, but you can get it for free from my website, if you want it. And it really teaches people how to be effective doing performance consulting
Mm-hmm.
in HR.
Wow. Now that's something which many people will be interested. So your website is Gary, it's GaryDePaul.com.
GaryADePaul.com. But I
Yeah.
think if you go to GaryDePaul.com, it moves you over to
Mm-hmm.
GaryADePaul.com. Yeah,
Super.
and if you click on books, you'll see all the books there. And if you click under research, I think there's a link there as well.
Superb.
But yeah, download the book for free.
Superb. So all those who are watching this podcast, you heard what Gary said. So go ahead and please visit his website and download the book. All right. So if you want a glossy and a color version, just go ahead to Amazon. Right. And Gary, would you mind letting us know about an interesting story that happened to you? Something regarding to leadership.
Yeah. I'm going to pull from What the Heck is Leadership,
Okay.
and Why Should I Care? So I'll give you a real example of one of the stories that I tell in that book. And they're all true stories. This happened to me when I worked at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. It
Okay.
was my first director job. And I had about 12 students reporting to me, and one of
Mm-hmm.
them was named Thomas.
Okay.
And if you imagine, it takes place at a residence hall where students live, and these students that report to me are resident assistants or resident advisors. And I walked up to one of them, Thomas,
Mm-hmm.
who was with a friend, and
Okay.
he introduced me to his friend.
Okay.
And I said something to Thomas, corrected about something he did,
Mm-hmm.
and said, that, oh, by the way, you don't want to do this. I don't even remember what it was.
Okay.
But what I remember very clearly is 5 minutes later, after he left, he came back and his whole face was beet red and
All
he
right.
was mad. He
Wow.
was angry. And he said to me, Gary, don't you ever correct me in front of any of my friends ever again.
My goodness.
I said to him, "You're right." And as soon as I said that, his
Mhm.
face changed from his anger to confusion and
Okay.
surprise. And I
All
said, "You know
right.
what? This is my first job managing people, and I should not have said anything in front of your friend, and I won't do that again. In fact, I won't correct you in front of your peers, in
Mhm.
front of your fellow employees or anyone else. I'll never do that again." And this is I'm new to this. I'm learning, and I would appreciate it if you just do what you just did. If I make a mistake, if I say something that just makes you mad or you don't understand, let me know. And it changed his whole outlook on working with me. And it taught me that if I'm going to be a new supervisor for someone like Thomas, I need to be open, I need to be honest, and I need to admit when I make mistakes. That's psychological safety. And it's a good example that I give in the book to illustrate that concept.
Interesting. Superb. So it's quite a productive discussion which we had, Gary. And could you give any final message to all the people watching this and those who seek motivation?
Yeah. This is something I think I know that you would agree with me on this,
Mm-hmm.
and we kind of talked about it. Leadership, there's sort of like two sides around leadership. One, there's the leadership side and there's the learning side. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to be effective at leadership, you need to be continuously learning and
100%.
developing yourself as well as the other people around you. So I encourage people to watch videos like this one, watch your other videos, and constantly try to learn as you go through and throughout your career, because it will pay tenfold back and make you a much better person, um, and a better human being.
Absolutely. Wise words. So keep learning, everyone. So keep on learning. So that's one of the best anti-aging medicines, right? So Gary, thank you very much for taking time to do this podcast with us. And for all those watching, please go ahead and connect with Gary on LinkedIn. So it's Gary A. DePaul, right?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gary.